TST Total Sports Talk. From Studio Spare Room in his own house, here is your host, Andrew Rogers.
TST, Total Sports Talk. Andrew Rogers back with you as always. We're talking the Canadian Hockey League and the MasterCard Memorial Cup tournament that got underway last night in Windsor. Our guest at this time is CTV News Director in Windsor, Manny Paiva. Manny, welcome back to TST.
Andrew, my man, thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem. I understand you were covering the game for AM 900 last night. Is that correct?
Yeah, AM 800.
Or 800.
Yeah, AM 800 is the radio station here in Windsor, and they're the sister station for CTV, owned by the same company, Bell Media. And I've been fortunate enough to do the games with them all regular season, and they've asked me to do some games, almost every single game at the Memorial Cup. So I'm looking forward to all the action, and for Windsor fans, they're pretty happy about the way the tournament got started last night.
Yeah, no doubt. It was quite a hockey game there. Windsor having 44 days off in between games, and they come out on top 3-2 against the Sea Dogs. So what did you like about the game? What impressed you about Windsor coming out like that?
Well, what impressed me most about Windsor was the fact that they were able to neutralize the speed and skill of St. John. If you have seen the Sea Dogs play this year, then you know that they have a tremendous amount of skill with Booth in goal, Shabbat on the back end, Bork on the back end, players like Gauthier and Smallwood and Valeno up front. Tremendous amount of skill, but they also play very fast. Yet the physical and big players of the Windsor Spitfires were able to neutralize that speed and skill, keep the players to the outside, and Michael DiPietro played very, very well.
Yeah, like I happened to catch some of the highlights. That diving glove save that he makes early on. Like, how big a save is that in terms of the whole game as a whole?
You know, Andrew, as all hockey fans know, the fact that if somebody scores early, the momentum of the game can swing at any moment, right? And I thought that the Sea Dogs couldn't get into the game early. At one point, Windsor was out shooting St. John 7-2 in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game. And I thought Windsor had the bigger jump at the start of the game. They fed off the crowd, the hometown crowd at the WFCU Center, and then they carried that momentum until Jeremiah Addison could score on the power play.
Yeah, like I thought Windsor just really impressive all around. They had a great effort. Like I say, I mean, it was nice to see that rust wasn't more of a factor that played against them coming out in the first game of a tournament that they're hosting for the first time.
I think if you talk to the coaching staff, they have said in the news conferences and in my conversations with them that this is the best the team has been all year. It's tough to believe that because they've been out for 44 days, but the fact that they were healthy, nobody was banged up, really was evident, I thought, in the first game last night. Logan Stanley coming back from a serious knee injury. He played 9 minutes in the first period, almost half of the first period, and he didn't look out of place. They kept the game simple, didn't try to do too much, and I think when Windsor tries to do too much, they get into trouble. I thought Sergachev was great. I thought Bracco was really good.
Yeah.
They were really skating and moving the puck up the ice a lot. And Windsor was really impressive. St. John, on the other hand, that is not the same St. John team that I have seen in highlights and in games throughout the course of the year. I thought they were flat. I thought their balance wasn't there. A lot of guys were invisible on that team. And after the game, Danny Flynn, the head coach of the Sea Dogs, said they weren't very good, and combine that with the fact that Windsor was very good, and that's why Windsor won the hockey game.
Yeah, like I wonder if the St. John Sea Dogs almost underestimated the Spitfires, thinking they were going to catch them flat-footed.
I thought there was a little bit of that, Andrew. I also thought that they just had a bit of nerves. It was as if they were holding their sticks too tight.
Sure.
They made an extra pass instead of shooting. They had I could count on one hand in the first period alone how many chances that the player had to shoot and passed it off instead. So I don't know what that was about. So I was a little bit surprised about how that talked, or how that played out. I was a little bit surprised about that. I expect to see a better St. John team as the tournament goes on.
Speaking of which, obviously, yeah, what do you expect, I guess, from Windsor moving on in terms of the rest of the tournament? What are you expecting from them?
Well, I think every single game will be a lot tougher now. I think that everybody has seen Windsor play now, has seen their systems, and the other teams like Seattle and St. John, who may not see Windsor as much, now sees them firsthand. I know Seattle was making copious notes of last night's game, preparing for Windsor's next game. So I don't think Windsor's going to be, or anybody's going to be surprised by Windsor anymore, and I expect every single game will be a whole lot tougher as they go forward. But now that they've won a game, they're at least guaranteed a tiebreaker game. I know they're going to want to accomplish a whole lot more.
Absolutely, no question about it. I think that's a fair statement for all of the teams in the tournament. TST talking with Manny Paiva. In terms of the other matchups, so there's a game today at 4 o'clock between the Erie Otters, the OHL champs, and the Seattle Thunderbirds coming off their franchise WHL championship, first in their franchise's 40-year history. What are you expecting from that tilt today?
I'm really looking forward to it, not only because I'm calling the game on radio, but because I haven't seen a lot of Seattle. And many people are telling me, don't sleep on Seattle. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them play. I think they've got some great talent. Matthew Barzal is a great hockey player.
What a beauty that guy is.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. They have a 16-year-old number one goaltender, so I want to see how he handles the pressure of being in this national tournament. And their power play was 36% in the playoffs. That's unheard of.
That's crazy.
I think that's going to be a big storyline. Can Erie stay out of the box and play 5-on-5 against Seattle? And if Erie does go shorthanded, will Seattle have that still potent power play? The Otters, I think they're a great hockey team, a lot of depth, a lot of skill. I still question their goaltending, and I want to see how their goaltending stacks up against some of the best competition in the country.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, a very fair statement. Troy Timpano, you don't know. I mean, he can go on streaks, and he can be good, and he can also be questionable at best. I think that's a very fair statement. Like I say, I think, Seattle, they got a lot riding on this one, coming off a huge victory over the Regina Pats, the number one ranked team in the CHL. It was unbelievable that they were able to knock those guys off.
Yeah, I think Regina was a bit banged up. They lost some key guys to injury, and that first place team that you saw during the regular season was not the same team that Seattle beat in the finals in the WHL. But don't get me wrong, Seattle deserves full credit for beating the Regina Pats. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, and you spoke of Matthew Barzal. What a player. I mean, we saw evidence of that when he represented Canada at the juniors, and I'm expecting a big tournament for him.
Yeah, I think, this is his time to shine, right? All eyes are on him, and great hockey players rise to the occasion. Will he be as clutch as Anthony Cirelli was for the Erie Otters in the playoffs and Cirelli for Team Canada? Remember, Cirelli won the Memorial Cup for Oshawa, and he won the OHL championship for Erie.
Yeah.
Will he be clutch in this tournament? Warren Fogle had a tremendous OHL playoff.
Absolutely.
And will he be able to shine on this stage as well? Dylan Strome, Alex DeBrincat. There are so many skilled players in this tournament. I'm just really pumped to see how they will play. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it just naming off those guys gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, Manny. I got to admit. Okay, one last question for me. Out of these 4 players from each team, I've selected as player spotlights that I'm particularly paying attention to. So you have for the St. John Sea Dogs, Thomas Chabot. For the Otters, Alex DeBrincat. From Windsor, Jeremy Bracco. And from Seattle, Matt Barzal. Which player takes his game to the absolute next level and leads his team to the Memorial Cup?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think you could have that debate for hours around the coffee table, and I think you can make an argument for all four.
Absolutely.
I think Thomas Chabot is a player who's ready to go to the next level, and maybe the next level is the AHL. You know, a defenseman takes a little bit longer to get to the NHL.
Sure.
But Thomas Chabot played 30 minutes last night, 30-plus minutes. I expect we may see him play 40 minutes in a hockey game in this tournament.
Wow.
So will he be able to lead his team to victory? I don't know. I think from this Memorial Cup tournament, it might be the most even tournament in recent memory. So I don't know if I can say there's one player that will lead him to victory. I'm just really looking forward to seeing Thomas Chabot play, especially now since his team lost the first game. So I expect his play to be raised even that much more.
Absolutely, 100%. Manny, we'll let you go. I really want to thank you for joining me on the program, TST Total Sports Talk. Thanks as always, and enjoy the game today.
Thank you.